The Humble Beginnings and the Code of Trust. The story of the Rothschilds doesn't begin in a marble palace. It begins in the damp, narrow streets of the Frankfurt Judengasse, a walled-off ghetto where life was dictated by harsh restrictions. Imagine a world where a man like Mayer Amschel Rothschild was forbidden from owning land or traveling freely. Yet, within these walls, Mayer discovered the ultimate loophole: the value of old coins and the power of sovereign debt. He wasn't just a merchant, he was a master of psychology. He understood that kings and princes were always in need of one thing: discreet, reliable capital. Mayer's genius wasn't just in making money, but in his 5 arrows strategy. He had 5 sons, and he viewed them not just as heirs, but as biological extensions of his own ambition. He sent them to the 5 beating hearts of Europe: London, Paris, Frankfurt, Vienna, and Naples. This was the birth of the first truly global financial network. Before the telegraph, before the internet, the Rothschilds created their own private intelligence agency. Their couriers, riding the fastest horses and using secret sea routes, became the fastest information network in human history. To the outside world, they were just bankers. In reality, they were the architects of a new world order, where borders didn't matter as much as balance sheets. The Waterloo Deception, the day the world changed. Now let's talk about June 18, 1815, the Battle of Waterloo. The entire future of the Western world hung in the balance. If Napoleon won, England was finished. The London Stock Exchange was a sea of nerves. Everyone was waiting for a sign. Nathan Rothschild, the most ruthless of the 5 brothers, was standing at his usual pillar in the exchange. His face was a mask of stone. But Nathan had a secret. 24 hours before the official government couriers reached London, Nathan's private agent, a man named Rothworth, had crossed the English Channel in a storm to deliver a coded message. Napoleon had been defeated. The Duke of Wellington had won. But Nathan didn't celebrate. He did the opposite. He began to sell. He dumped his stocks, signaling to the room that the news from the front was catastrophic. Panic spread like a virus. "Wellington is defeated!" the traders screamed. The market crashed to nearly zero, and then at the very last moment, Nathan gave a silent signal to his agents. They bought everything. Every bond, every scrap of debt, for pennies on the dollar. When the official news of victory arrived hours later, Nathan Rothschild didn't just have a fortune, he effectively owned the British national debt. He had conquered England without firing a single shot. The Invisible Empire and the Usman Protocol. Following Waterloo, the Rothschilds became the bankers to kings. They financed the rebuilding of Europe after the Napoleonic Wars. They funded the Industrial Revolution, the railways that connected continents, and even the purchase of the Suez Canal for the British Empire. But as their wealth grew, they became more secretive. They realized that visible power is a target, while invisible power is a shield. This brings us to a critical realization in the Usman Protocol: the transition from gold to influence. By the mid-19th century, no major war could be fought in Europe without a Rothschild loan. They became the neutral party that profited from every conflict. They were the masters of the balance of power, ensuring that no single nation became too strong without their financial backing. They were no longer just participants in history. They were the ones writing the script. And as we move into the next chapter, we will see how they realized that to maintain this dominance for centuries, they had to look beyond banks and start looking into their own biology. The mathematics of inbreeding, power over biology. As the 19th century progressed, the Rothschilds faced a threat more dangerous than a market crash: the dilution of their legacy. In the world of high finance, a marriage isn't just a union of 2 people, it's a merger of 2 balance sheets. To prevent their colossal fortune from leaking out to rivals, the family turned inward. They created a biological fortress. Between 1824 and 1917, the marriage patterns of the Rothschilds became a subject of medical fascination. Out of 21 marriages of the descendants of Mayer Amschel, 15 were between first cousins. In the Usman Protocol, we call this the double-edged sword. While it kept the gold within the family vault, it created what geneticists call the founder effect. By narrowing their gene pool, they were conducting a high-stakes experiment on their own bloodline. They understood that to rule the world for centuries, they didn't just need loyal bankers, they needed a specific, predictable type of mind, a mind that was biologically wired for the long game. The medical obsession, funding the future of health. But the Rothschilds weren't just victims of their own genetics. They were the masters of medical philanthropy. Why did a family of bankers become the largest private donors to European hospitals? From the Rothschild Hospital in Frankfurt to massive clinics in Paris and Jerusalem, they weren't just building their reputation, they were building a database. They were among the first to realize that health is the ultimate currency. In an era when most of the world died of simple infections, the Rothschilds lived into their 80s and 90s. They hired the world's finest physicians to study hereditary traits long before modern DNA sequencing existed. We see their influence in the early development of ophthalmology and neurology. They were obsessed with the Rothschild eye, a metaphorical and physical trait of extreme focus and pattern recognition. They didn't just fund medicine, they used it to optimize the survival of their own dynasty. While the masses looked at their gold, the family was looking at the microscopic secrets of longevity, the psychological toll, the burden of the name. However, biology always demands a payment. The pressure of maintaining a global empire and a pure bloodline took a heavy psychological toll. In the medical archives of the 20th century, we find traces of the Rothschild syndrome, a term used by some to describe the extreme anxiety and mental exhaustion that came with the family name. Imagine being born into a world where your every heartbeat is owned by a centuries-old legacy. This tension created a unique psychological profile: hypervigilance, secrecy, and a deep-seated distrust of outsiders. This wasn't just personality, it was a survival mechanism encoded through generations of isolation. As we move into the modern era, we see this obsession with biology evolve. They moved from marrying cousins to investing in the very fabric of human life, genetics and biotechnology. They realized that the next great frontier wasn't land or oil, but the human genome itself. The 5 arrows were no longer just aimed at the banks of Europe. They were aimed at the future of human evolution. The Great Transition, the invisible hand in the machine. As the 20th century closed, the world thought the Rothschilds had faded into the dusty pages of history books. They were wrong. They didn't disappear. They went subatomic. They understood before anyone else that the next great war wouldn't be fought with cannons or currencies, but with strings of code. In this section of the Usman Protocol, we track the shift from physical banks to the digital cloud. The family's strategy evolved from owning the printing press of money to owning the operating system of society. By moving their assets into complex webs of trusts and offshore entities, they became the ultimate silent partners in the tech revolution. When you look at the major players in the pharmaceutical industry and the pioneers of massive data collection, you find the same structural footprints left by the 5 arrows 200 years ago. They aren't just investors, they are the architects of the infrastructure that monitors every transaction and every heartbeat in the modern world. Biotech and the privatization of life. Why is a banking dynasty so deeply embedded in the world of biotechnology? The answer lies in their 19th century obsession with pure blood. Today, that obsession has a new name: genomic mapping. The Rothschilds were among the earliest and most consistent backers of the companies that now hold the keys to our biological data. Think about it. If you control the gold, you control the economy. But if you control the genetic code, you control life itself. We are seeing a massive pivot where health wealth is becoming the new standard. Through various foundations and venture capital arms, the family has funneled billions into CRISPR technology, longevity research, and synthetic biology. They are no longer just waiting for the founder effect to play out naturally through marriage. They are looking at how to edit the future. For the elite, the goal is no longer just to stay rich, it's to become biologically superior. In the Usman archives, we see this as the final stage of the Rothschild experiment, the privatization of the human evolutionary process.
The I overlay, the Usman Protocol final revelation. Finally, we must address the ghost in the machine. Artificial intelligence. The Rothschilds have always thrived on information asymmetry, knowing something before everyone else. In 1815, it was a fast horse. In 2026, it's a predictive algorithm. The family's modern influence is felt in the ethical frameworks or lack thereof surrounding AI development. They are investing heavily in systems that can predict market crashes, social unrest, and even disease outbreaks before they happen. This is the ultimate invisible shield. By combining their centuries of genealogical data with real-time AI processing, they have created a feedback loop that allows them to stay 3 steps ahead of any government or competitor. They aren't just watching the future, they are simulating it. As we conclude this investigation, we realize that the Red Shield hasn't fallen, it has simply become a digital firewall, protecting the most successful biological and financial monopoly in human history.